Welcome, everybody. This is the manuscript Synchronous Universe you may be familiar with if you have been part of the community here on YouTube. The upcoming series of videos will present this material page by page for a thorough, digestible resource, enabling the individual deeper insights and awareness through honorable efforts to study the power of the occult and esoteric undercurrents within. Thanks for being here. Please like, share, and subscribe for more videos regarding the exploration and unraveling of your boundless creative potential. Beginning with the introduction. Prerequisite to this collection of material, a short but powerful book has been compiled for the reader to internalize and process accordingly. The book is Peaks and Valleys, and I do recommend to check out the description to see if it fits any interest. The material compiled in the following pages will share space in spirit, mind, and body for thought and consciousness expansion. This is not to change your mind whatsoever. In fact, it is intended to direct the individual to look within, exploring realms of infinite creative potential. This is designed for students developing and understanding esoteric and occult principles embedded in the subconscious of the collective mind, the Akashic records, and how rituals influence humans in the entertainment world, in religious sects, and even in our own day-to-day routines. This book will explore how the divine intelligence life force ever present and available for the individual internally attuned can be properly harnessed with honorable actions and intentions. The creative process of the life spirit is infinite potential, a perpetual process human consciousness experiences in multidimensional realms. These notes are to combine the external and internal realms, explain these multiple dimensions humans interface, and give practical applications for the reader to deconstruct polarity parameters of the matrix fields that are currently attacking and invading thought forms of many humans today. Every individual has unique coding and expressions surging through the life spirit that electrifies and amplifies the electromagnetic biophysical currents, the life force of their being. This material will acknowledge the importance of healing powers and frequencies of gratitude. The divine capabilities that exist in all is infinite creative potential permeating the universe. As within, so without. Perpetual expansion of the universe within, human consciousness, fractal of the omniscient oversoul, connected to the Akashic record and universal forces, and mastermind. This internal process is the human life experience, as we are spiritual life essence empowering a vessel, or being of physical construct. The responsibility as an individual and part of the collective soul is within the perpetual self-contemplation of the life spirit. All begins from within, expanding outward, and this process is human consciousness experiencing God, or life force energy, as biological and environmental reactions and responses induce creation to permeate, unravel, and organize into lower vibrational states and planes. Guided by this God intelligence, the operations, facilitation, and organization of human consciousness persists in all planes of both spiritual and material. Combining and cross-referencing multiple fields of study, Synchronous Universe will entertain the reader with correlative patterns existing in Mother Nature and perception of human being. The student of the universe acknowledges direct reflection of the material mirror, or external plane of perspective, and our response ability, sourced internally, in the operations of divine machinations that shape perception. Intention will be focused on the reader developing healthy and honorable relationship systems with the inner multidimensional universe without any special superpowers or specialized equipment. Intention will also suggest the reader to recognize that relationships realize into creation via energy patterns or habits that originate from both conscious and unconscious, the awareness or lack of, the thought waveform patterns. Divine technology is human consciousness, and the laws of the universal construct are operating ceaselessly to maintain equilibrium as the director and conductor of the magnum opus in this existence, the great architect, God. The omnipotence flows and permeates all that is. Please utilize this material as a resource as much as necessary. I, the author, speak from the heart with a message of appreciation to the individuals who have continued to embrace their path of truth. Modern day is full of distraction, and we must help each other remember the divine powers that exist within. Never alone, but rather all one of a much larger, universal breath and pulse. Chapter 1. Cracking the Code, a Pattern Break. In order to directly assess the process of understanding the codes of the universe, one must develop a healthy relationship with the internal eyesight of the expanding mind and faculties of consciousness within. That is, an intertwining relationship of the subconscious mind and spirit of the individual with all that is, universal consciousness, God. Also, the student will develop further awareness of esoteric and occult principles of life, electricity and magnetism, or electromagnetic biocurrents interweaving human consciousness as this powerful androgynous cosmic intelligence. Modern-day science might refer to omnipresent forces and phenomena as quantum and divine life force. Prana, 1. All that is. Symbolism, over the course of centuries, has embedded into the collective mind and subconscious mind of human beings. Symbols include shapes, symbols in Mother Nature, brand name logos, letters, sigils, molecular crystalline structures, which is all organic material, the constellations and celestial luminaries, living and non-living entities, flags, all art throughout history, egregores, collective thought forms, archetypes, and everything else the collective mind and imagination of man has unraveled in between. The repetition of these symbols form patterns which hold particular frequencies unique to the symbol. Particular influence is thus transmitted to the individuals subjected to the symbol. Repetition of these patterns strengthen a particular vibrational influence, potentially imbalancing, manipulating, disrupting, controlling, and even reprogramming the electromagnetic biofield of the individual. Now, visualize these interweaving and overlapping fractals of vibrational waveforms fluid in the universe. Frequencies of particular states of data, or information, note the word information, intelligently arranging, rearranging, organizing, and disorganizing themselves. In the lower vibratory waveforms, these materials, or elements, collect into formation and inform the individual of what is observed with the two eyes, we call physical reality. The thought frequency fields across multidimensional consciousness, etheric fields, and subtle bodies, layers consist of polarization parameters where frequencies of harmonized thought waveforms collect. Together, these harmonized thought frequencies form belief systems with which have contributed to shaping culture and human consciousness for thousands of years. Many of these belief systems have also remained alive long after the originators or first developers manifested the waveforms, the thoughts to beliefs to an entity or collective thought form in the astral plane called an egregore. Multidimensionally speaking, the white or light magic alchemist operates with God and from an inner state of awareness, the divine life force, intelligence, I, Christ consciousness, pure intuition, love, in direct commune with the life spirit, the creative process of the individual. Note that God, the capital acronym that will be noted through the book, is the generator, the operator, and destroyer. Now, let us take a brief moment to recognize this observation. In the matrix that we operate in today, humans commit both good and evil actions. These thought forms that exist on opposite ends of the spectrum are also equal to each other. They originate from the same source of fluid potentia, omnipresence, as all is God. Lower vibrational waveforms gives the ego impressions, stimulus and emotional energy, energy and motion, change. The change is more specifically a series of impressions, vibrational waveforms influencing the human to experience frequency alterations in their electromagnetic frequency field, or EMF. In the collective consciousness, impressions of the mind directly reflect the entire electromagnetic biofield of the individual. This can cause individuals to act irrationally in a multiple of harmful and unhealthy expressions, emotions, or energy and motion, surging, potentially influencing discordance between cells in the body. Other forms of these expressions, of which are almost invisible to the naked eye or involuntary, however poisonous to thoughts: hate, self-pity, selfishness, envy, grudges, etc. We exist in a matrix, an environment ever-changing and impermanent, fluid and seeking balance of its dual consciousness of chaos and order, or equilibrium. A lot of what is cause of chaotic is invisible to the naked eye. Even the atmospheric conditions seeking balance, generating powerful efforts to achieve balance of pressurization. One may observe as it gathers in a godly force, note the Vedas' Vayu and the Shu in Egyptian mythology, powerful enough to sweep ships under swallowing ocean tides, the waters below, and wipe out topographical layers of modern-day infrastructure. Mother Nature and you too, astral traveler, are intertwined, intrinsically, one and perpetually in expansion with the cosmos. The intelligence that permeates everything is the source, divine life essence. In the daily life experience, every individual is unraveling their specific coding that is unique to their life spirit, or as mentioned earlier, electromagnetic biophysical field, the vibrationary resonance and frequency flow. This happens primarily internally, although it does reflect itself to the external world of the individual as a natural response in physical reality, in the life experience and universal constructs of Mother Earth and the firmament of God, all that is and will be. As previously noted, most of what is happening in the world around us is actually invisible to the naked eye. However, some of these frequencies of life essence transmute themselves into beautiful patterns one may observe with the proper perspective. Yes, the Fibonacci sequence, an intricate pattern of Mother Nature mathematically and systematically organizing for all living organisms to process in her creation field, that through which the golden mean ratio is derived. The universal coding is embedded into the collective subconscious, mind, and universal memory, or Akashic records. Intricate geometric vibrational patterns hold unique frequencies specific for organizing information into life. All is recycled of the life spirit, the mind, the material body of the individual, soul. All parts existing across all multidimensional fields are recycled back into life cycle. Death is life, beginning of new life for the spirit, mind, and body respectively to universal law and accord. These interdimensional, geometric, vibrational energy patterns are significant for understanding the rituals of sigil magic, symbolism that can be harnessed for both black and white, the evil and good, negative and positive, etc., magic rituals inside of the matrix. Now that we have noted what is going on in the invisible world, which shows one in the same as the material, higher frequency forms of life force, alchemically transmuting light or life force essence into lower states of vibration, as above, so below. This divine life force surges through the being of the student. Awareness of one's own perception is vital to raising the frequencies on the interdimensional fields of the inner realms, specifically the subconscious mind and the life spirit, through repetition of empowering energy patterns with conscious awareness of thoughts and actions. Properly attuned to prana, breath control, getting closer to God, the divine source within. This inner universe begins to awaken the more this practice is enabled by the individual. The subconscious begins to remember itself, the life spirit begins to flow strong and healthy, and the individual becomes one with all that is internal, that is, the darkness and the light, as one. Longitudinal scalar waveforms permeate all existence. Pure potential voltage inductions emanating ever-present dielectric potentia. These waveforms interweave, interact, and communicate with the living organisms and their electromagnetic biocurrents. Thought frequencies of human beings have similar potential to organize as collective thought forms in etheric fields, forming potentially long-lasting belief systems that expand to invisible superstructures in the collective subconscious mind. Now, the same potentia emergence of life force permeating the spirit of the individual has the same capabilities as prana, potentia, to manifest as the creative process in the life experience. This is an important note for the student. Divine life spirit is in a perpetual state of self-contemplation. Undisrupted from frequencies causing dis-ease, the spirit does everything it can to live. When possessions, manipulative entities, particular forms of frequencies transmitting alternative communication signals to the natural flow of cellular and biological systems intervenes, the potentia of the individual can be harmfully affected and imbalanced, or diseased. This can cause divine life spirit to be spiritually or energetically attacked by these waveforms that are interweaving with their individual electromagnetic biofield. Without being attuned to the spirit, these electromagnetic interferences may not be immediately noticeable to the individual. This awareness is going to become more important as much of human consciousness and modern-day technology systems are becoming heavily integrated into the human experience here on Earth. In the first book, Peaks and Valleys, this is carefully assessed for the student to understand and develop inner awareness to these parasitic controllers existing in the matrix. I do recommend the student to obtain the material if willed to do so. This is also a time to note utilization of technological advancements do have benefits. However, what most individuals are given access to and what is actually being done in laboratories and private facilities worldwide are completely different. Observing the bigger picture, this is an agenda constructed by central planners of global banking systems, powerful religious leaders, politicians of countries, technocrats, not-so-secret societies, and other private sects of government and military operating in collusive efforts to psychologically and spiritually influence the will and spirit of human consciousness. Now, to pause for a moment. This doesn't necessarily confirm all intentions driven behind the global agenda are evil or good. Intuition is. With that in mind, recognizing all is one within you. Astral traveler, as one traverses through the matrix, these types of polarities exist everywhere, attempting to vacuously loop your prana, life force energy, and their trappings, living vicariously through human habits, both thoughts and actions or energy patterns, and are geometrically perfect to harvest and power their machines in their materialist world. This is where the light of awareness of the power within you to shape your reality, raise the vibrational frequencies within thoughts, spirit, and will to equilibrium and healthy flow, and understand how manifestation is first expansion from within and projects itself into the external physical field. As we move into part 2, may the student take any time to review any personal notes if necessary. I, the author, am going to present and unravel this material as honorably as possible. The synchronicities between all that is no coincidence. Rest assured, if the student has already discovered this at some point, of finding opportunity to convene with their inner life spirit. There is symbolism in everything in the sensuous realms that humans have deep relationships with, whether they are aware of it or not. It is programmed into the subconscious. The life experience is a collection of all the relationships you have with everything. As the alchemist, you are responsible for balancing, harnessing, and transmuting all inner potentia in the life experience. Okay, let's keep moving. Chapter 1, Part 2, Subconscious Mind, Egregores, Demonic Possessions of Spirit. Demonic activities in the earthly realm exist partly because they continue to live as demonic entities in the subconscious mind of human beings. Interdimensionally, described as polarity parameters in the matrix, this design sets your archetypical devil and angel on either shoulder, referencing individual choice of good or bad. However, the strong suggestion is made to the student to use neither and direct all senses inward to the planes of darkness, the blueprint of the imagination, and infinite potential to recognize all creative possibility. One does not allow the external stimulus to direct their internal life spirit away from self-contemplation or will through inner awareness and cultivation of these machinations, expanding within the being and life essence of the individual. This is a harnessing power that must be initiated by the alchemist, without hesitation or fear. Being intolerable to nature, fear will instinctively be attacked. A will to embrace all that is will enable energy flow, well-being, through practice, balance the stagnations that may have developed through imbalances of disrupted electromagnetic biofields discussed in Chapter 1. This is keynote, for these parasitic entities thrive from the individual hosting the entities, like vampires, feeding off the thought and emotional frequencies, energy and motion, one transmits due to the dis-ease or imbalance in the cellular communication systems in their electromagnetic biofield. Black magic rituals that negatively affect the individual as another feeds their demons to give themselves more power. See, rituals occur much more than one may realize. How one makes coffee, brushes their teeth, puts on their shoes, eats their food. All humans have day-to-day rituals that we develop, no matter the level of conscious awareness one has in the moment. Remember, astral traveler, you become master of your own fate here. No one can enter your consciousness unless you allow them. Even in music, especially in the mainstream industries of magic, entertainment, being governed by secret societies and using MK Ultra strategies for people to emulate and copy and create more channels for the mainstream to broadcast their frequencies of demonic and spirit possession rituals even wider and farther into the matrix. In the music videos, TV shows, the television, movie productions, predictive programming is a tool utilized by these governing bodies regulating these industries to further copy and paste the symbolism. Embedding information, assembled energy patterns, data, into the matrix and collective subconscious mind of human beings. Egregores, or collective thought forms, have expanded with belief systems of human consciousness. Powerful structures of thought frequencies that have created these egregores are symbolized and embedded into the synchronicities of the collective subconscious. Note, these are becoming intensified via digitalization mediums in the modern day, social cultural influences, interfering with the natural human biophysical, cognitive, and physical electromagnetic fields of billions of humans at extremely fast transmissions. Having this awareness, the student of God has developed deeper connections with the intuition. The importance of the individual being one, embracing all that is. Without distracting or desensitizing themselves, expansion within amplifies and purifies the electromagnetic life force energy, the prana, of the individual. Naturally, separations existing in lower frequency fields that are necessary signal communications from spirit, mind, and body to transmute these blockages of chi, the flow of energy fields in the body, and fields of tension. Note this exists in our thoughts, habits, and actions, or our energy patterns. Establishing equilibrium in the Trinity. The heart chakra is the most resourceful field of potential in the electromagnetic field of the human anatomical and physiological processes. This is expanded upon in Peaks and Valleys and will suggest the reader to reference the material and do further research pertaining to this subject matter. I want to keep the train on the tracks here and stay focused on the internalization and understanding the student is responsible for developing as an astral traveler experiencing this journey. I must personally note, I hold myself responsible for explaining this material and collection of notes as clearly as possible. The goal is for this to resonate and internalize to raise health and awareness of the reader. This is only for utility. You are Source, one with all that is, God. Be the student of all. Chapter 1, Part 3. Psychology of Healing, Harnessing Divine Intelligence, Pattern Break. All divine life force intelligence manifests from within and expands outwardly. Life in the oak tree is within the acorn as well as within the tree itself. A better understanding of the mental and spiritual life-giving force within is what the student should seek first, from which the material without springs from. Our health is a reflection of the thoughts within. The divine life force to heal is the same force which makes life. It is an omnipotent and omnipresence perpetually at work, whether or not one is aware. Dis-ease is evidence of imbalancing, controlling forces of mind and body. All parts of the entire body are vehicles of expressions or emotions, and every thought leaves its impress within as without. Okay, it's time to discuss Prison Break. This is not to exit the matrix now, but rather efforts to respond dutifully to the life force, prana, preservation of the mind, body, and spirit for transitioning in as pure of a state of well-being and consciousness as one wills to be. The divine intelligence, life spirit, is master over all matter and materials. Matter conforms with your realization of spirit. Mind first, and the body follows. Take note here, astral traveler. The first, hardest, and most essential endeavor an individual to direct intention is conquering wrong thinking. However, do not allow logic or reason to clog the natural flow of divine intelligence, prana, as it is your healer. That is, God, the omnipresent life force with which produces thought and transcends it. Healing for the individual, no matter what type of thinker, has the potential for healing manifesting itself from the power within to the likeness of the perfection without. This is important to note for the student, as resistance, doubt, fear, unholy desires, negative thoughts must be let go of in order for the healing spirit to surge and amplify within. Do not let these lower vibrational states of being disrupt and irritate the natural flow of the spirit. To learn to be in harmony as one traverses darkness, chaos, negative influence, etc., is vital to the efficacy of the self-healing process. Thought is infinite potential, a resistless power in the universe, the real horsepower within the human being. Expanding in aether and building the external world without. Allowing the mind to be receptive to the understanding of truth. The unraveling from the contemplation of the life spirit. Infinite life-giving power is love, divine love, part of the universal spirit, surging within every cell of human being. God will not do anything for us which he can do through us. The subconscious mind is subjective mind and does not reason inductively. It learns nothing by inductive processes, which is a faculty of conscious or objective mind. Subconscious mind controls all silent functions of the body, and the individual can reach the subconscious through suggestion for the relief and healing from dis-ease, imbalance, vices, and negative energy patterns. The subconscious mind controls the secretions of the glands of the body and all of the organized internal intelligence systems and functionings. Subconscious mind controls every organ, atom, and cell of being. Divine life force intelligence, life spirit of human consciousness, works through the mind. Harmonious effort and cooperation of these faculties of the mind, the individual suggests positive affirmations for mind, body, and spirit. The more clear these currents convene and communicate, the stronger and quicker effects are shown. Yes, magnetizing the body to heal and recover rapidly, amplify with ether necessary to recharge and heal the electromagnetic biofield, are biofield currents. The equilibrium in the chakras energy system is the heart. The soul of the individual is a powerful transmitter and receiver station. Fear creates susceptibility to autosuggestion. When an individual likens thoughts to particular vibrational frequency, sympathy is established between the frequencies permeating all that is, the field of infinite potential and electromagnetism, as we have discussed in previous pages, of the being becomes susceptible to impressions of the same vibratory rate. So, harmony or agreement by the individual, regardless of good or evil power, health and balance or disease, is the basis of the relationships of these electromagnetic fields of potential. A note to the student at this time. There is a responsibility within to realize a condition that corresponds to what is believed. In other words, the law of the soul is through individual belief and expectancy that either blesses or curses, as what is believed will manifest into expression. Here are a couple recommendations I will address, concluding Chapter 1. 1. When the student is talking to self, silently, aloud, or to other humans, animals, objects, everything, never say anything regarding your personality, dreams, affairs, family, friends, life or death, except that which you expect to be materialized and realized. 2. Replace undesirable suggestions with the ideals of health or that which you desire. 3. Nature abominates fear and instinctively will attack it. Do not call your desires out of anger or fear. Ask for what you truly desire. Do not allow your passions to control your desires, or you will lose control of agency, asking for too much. Okay, let's move into Chapter 2. Please review this chapter as a refresher at will. The material will impress itself different each time as you expand. Consciousness of all that is within Astral Traveler as so becomes without. Chapter 2, Subconscious Mind, Internal Darkness Blueprint, Harnessing Power of Imagination and Visualization. For the purpose of this segment, I will begin a short phrase to stick into the mind as the student continues on. Fear is the greatest enemy of the individual. Infinite love casts out fear and blots out hell. It is the fear of hell that has embedded into the collective subconscious mind of humans, with which brings sickness and disease to many individuals. Much theology of today is an expansion of the histories of the rise and fall of nations, beginning with the ancient civilization of Vedic, Egypt, Babylonia, Assyria, Chaldea, Parthia, Greece, and Rome. All proclaimed themselves to the greatest nations of them all, or the chosen people of their gods, including some teachings such as the fear of hell, the fear of death, the fear of facing God, and in Roman papacy today, the Pope reigning as supreme authority and holder of the keys to heaven, the doctrine of the power of the keys, and Judgment Day. Continuation of the manipulation of ancient doctrine and universal law in writing and traditional storytelling over the centuries has embedded fear into the collective consciousness around the world. These entities exist in countless forms in our reality today, repetitively harnessed for their symbolic power and influence in the collective subconscious, for both their benevolent and malevolent purposes. This is a great time to pause and take note that this is not determining any particular symbol is good or evil. It is both. This is important for the student to note, as there are snake oil salesmen, some carefully disguised, that can shift the spirit from balance into a polarity trap. This can appeal to the individual as both good or evil. The student acknowledges equilibrium through the heart as the ideal transmutative chakra center. Firstly, the keys of the kingdom of heaven are within you, astral traveler. Heaven is within. With this awareness, there is no external controlling force keeping one trapped that can negatively affect the mind. Spirit is God and only knows life. Any spirit uncontaminated from demonic possessions is willed to live and to love. The internal creative process unravels as the self-contemplation of the spirit, which is the light born from the darkness, the subconscious mind, and blueprint of imagination. Within you is the darkness, where all potential can be visualized and manifested, as this is where infinite potential springs outward from. These faculties within are divine powers given to human being, and it is a collective effort of sovereign responsibility to harness and cultivate these faculties to serve and fulfill loving kindness or higher vibrational purpose. This note is critical to the alchemist, the student of all. One can easily see the obstructions and potential destructions any fear can cause to prana. Disguising love in the thought realms, imagination, subconscious darkness blueprint, by tricking the individual in the physical field of sensorial influences, experiences, and sensuous impressions. Stimulations, shifting polarities to one side or the other, cause the etheric fields to imbalance the spirit, reflecting in the external by our negative energy patterns, poor choices, ill thinking, etc. Just as one can be extremely depressed, one can be overconfident and condescending, as the action may exhibit the illusion of confidence and strength via vibrational tension and discordance, while the preceding thought originating from within, a dark, neglected area of subconscious impressions, triggering uncontrolled outbursts and expanding as expressions of emotion or energy in motion, in thoughts and actions. Chapter 2, Part 2. Anatomy and Physiology, Habit, Consciousness, Memory, Imagination, and Reasoning. The conscious and subconscious mind are but two souls with a single thought, and the unity of their heartbeat is inherent in the organism that gives the individual life force intelligence. From a physiological point of view, habit is an electrical pathway of discharge formed in the brain, blazing new pathways as stimulus. New electric and magnetic impulses, both mental and physical, can overcome resistance offered at the synapses. Good habits and techniques simplify our movements. Technique, mental and physical, makes them more accurate, amplifies their energy. Personal well-being and efficiency are intertwined with the acquisition of healthy habits. Here is an important note. Habit diminishes the conscious awareness of the thought or action being expressed. There is potential here for the habit to become automatic after a continued period of repetition. This association can become a superpower as well as a suppressor. The mental capacity, the areas in the brain associated with autonomous systems, can be opened and amplified. However, must be kept in balance, for the habit will become master of the individual with no awareness to this matter. The student acknowledges these electrical stimuli gives us intention to directing and controlling the energy patterns accordingly. Response, ability. Repression of these electrical forces imbalances electromagnetic currents of the individual, causing conditions in the nervous system that induce various forms of nervous breakdown. This awareness encourages the individual to note the advantage of substituting or replacing one habit, energy pattern, with another, rather than complete repression or suppression of the electromagnetic communications and intelligence fields of the human biological systems. This awareness encourages the individual to note the advantage of substituting or replacing one habit or energy pattern with another, rather than complete repression or suppression of the electromagnetic communications and intelligence fields of the human biological systems. Human consciousness and inner awareness are intertwined, as a state of being is the expansion and development of a relationship one has with all that is. The subconscious mind, a primary component of the individual and collective, is indelibly impressed by every experience of life. The universe and the Akashic records, the collective subconscious mind, and the individual subconscious in the life experience. The subconscious mind does not depend on solely the brain for existence, as it is the immortal part of man, soul, and is capable of sustaining an existence independently of the body and even contain egregores, discussed in previous chapters. Subconscious mind interweaves the intuitive and spiritual side of life, revealing to the individual insight that the conscious mind has no conception of until the vibrational impression consummates. The subconscious carries out the best impressions it is given, unless intercepted and redirected by conscious mind. It heals the body and keeps equilibrium as encouraged, for it is powerful in the formation of all habits. The subconscious is awareness of God's presence within you and keeps the personality in peace and quietness. It governs and controls all vital functions of the body automatically, as its highest powers consisting of intuition, faith, spiritual insight, and perception, telepathic power, clairvoyant ability, seat of the emotional expressions, and perfect memory. What is known as memories, collectively stored in the subconscious, determine a substantial extent of our ways of thinking and acting. All that is not being thought of at any given time is subconscious. The ability to recall, or conscious intention to renew or remember, bringing from the collective storehouse of memories above the threshold of consciousness, is called a good memory. For the student, this acknowledgement is desirable, as we also look at the partnering faculties of imagination, recombining and rearranging binding memories into original combinations. Imagination is the opposite of concentration, and the ability to harness both at will are invaluable assets to the alchemist. In future material, concentration will be noted in further detail. For now, to summarize this section, the art of reasoning will be briefly regarded as it is a great mention in relationship to the notes. Reasoning, or the recall, comparison, analysis, abstraction of definite memories for decision-making, well known as judgment. All of these thoughts require intention, awareness, healthy exercise and expression for their development and expansion. If the cerebrum is depressed by dis-ease, toxicities and harmful chemicals, even fatigue, some of these higher powers of the individual can be severely damaged and even lost. Okay, much has been discussed in the first 2 chapters, and the individual is encouraged to take some of this material and commit to some of the methods of application. There is no need to hesitate. The practice and exercise of some of these ideals, as untapped potential is within the individual at ready and accessible. The cultivation of the infinite creative process is the life spirit in perpetual self-contemplation. Divine infinite intelligence, God, life spirit, surges within and without. Prana, life force, harmonious with the laws of the universe in omnipresence form as all that is. God. Chapter 2, Part 3. Law of 7 in the Kabbalion, one with all that is, unraveling your truth. Quote, to the student of God and astral traveler, please remember the power of the subconscious mind is of the most potential forces in human nature, and when intelligently directed, the most benevolent. But, like every other power in nature, when improperly directed, destructive force is equally as potent. End quote. Whether or not a vibration of thought shall be allowed to dwell upon a mental image depends on the will of the individual. The belief in the power to harness and dissipate or expand impressions of the universal mind, grand architect, fluidity of all universal synergy. The recognition and relationship to God, who is source of all that is. The invariable truth that the life experience expresses in its wholeness from our conception of this note, whether it be positive or negative. Allied forces in the faculties of mind, including imagination and intuition, directly correspond to the molecular vibrations, the electromagnetic biofield, of the individual. That is, physiologically speaking, every functioning cell, molecule, atom, and electron in the body and all biocommunications. Next is a key note to the student to consider. In all of this, the power of will and agency of the individual in regulating the action of both intuition and imagination must be remembered. This, then, is to bring us into consciousness with all that is, source of our own being. This inner awareness shines light to the individual to not neglect the outward forms of expressions or manifestation of a frequency of thought. Affirming the creative process as a reflection and reproduction in outward form, dear student, this note must be considered. There is no other starting point conceivable for the creative process of the individual than the perpetual self-contemplation of the divine life spirit. Be careful of vain philosophies contradicting the personality of God, as they can lead one astray from convening with the divine life force intelligence within. This is necessary to note, as many of these result in the individual putting themselves in the place of all that is, God. This leaves the individual with nothing to harness, like trying to climb a ladder that is resting against nothing. Another note to mention, through observation of contemporary media and social media, is the attention seekers that have seemingly cloned themselves in these digital worlds. These are realms consisting of misleading pathways and will become overstimulating to the spirit and disrupt the self-contemplation process if the individual gives their attention, think about it, paying attention to these energy harvesting entities. It is the responsibility of the alchemist to protect prana and allow convene with the highest source to expand within. The upheaval of the cerebrospinal fluids and sacred oils, developing connections and healthy relations with divine life force, wherein emerges boundless potential and the perpetual creative process of the spirit, which is referred to the Z-pinch in modern physics. A brief note regarding the Hermetics, principles that seem to be in accord with universal law. This is not what I, the author, claim to be truth or fact. This is for the student to reference as an accessory or potential resource as one develops convene with God and unravels all creative potential that is within. More importantly, I suggest the student to listen to spirit, for the spirit is intertwined with both the collective subconscious mind, the individual subconscious, and divine intelligence, God. The more pure of a connection one develops, or the healthier the relationship, the stronger the connection manifests. The Kabbalion, 7 Hermetic Principles. 1. The principle of mentalism. All is mind. The universe is mental. 2. The principle of correspondence. As above, so below. 3. The principle of vibration. Nothing rests. Everything holds a vibrational frequency. 4. The principle of polarity. Everything has duality, poles, its opposite. Opposites are identical in nature, but differ in degree. Extremes meet. All paradoxes may be reconciled. 5. The principle of rhythm. Everything flows. Out and in, rise and fall. Cosmic pendulum manifests in all. Rhythm compensates. 6. The principle of cause and effect. There are many planes of causation, yet nothing escapes the law. 7. The principles of gender. All has masculine and feminine principles, manifests on all places. This is from the book, The Kabbalion. Please take this time to review the previous chapters and take a short break before proceeding. I, the author, encourage the reader to also implement intentional breath work, as well as making some time and efforts to attune senses inward and be one with all that is within. Quiet the external environment and unnatural stimulus. Somewhere in nature, the forest is ideal. Overall, the focus and intention is to separate from all disturbing static, mechanical noise, radio frequencies, and unnatural frequencies around you for as long as desired. If the individual senses imbalance in any of the specific chakra centers, focus on neutralizing thought polarity via breath, prana, and life spirit. Redirect the thought transmission into healing and recovery in the specific region. Be one with all that is. Inhale deeply through the nose, following with slow exhalation via the mouth. Breath is life spirit, and convening with this divine life essence will amplify the self-healing abilities of the mind of the individual, as this is source, God, prana, divine intelligence. You are the alchemist and the astral traveler. Enjoy this exercise and use it as much as willed to do so. To further this exercise, one may wish to integrate affirmations, directing faith, high vibrational thought to its utmost potential, quite literally its highest vibrational potential. This is love, healing self and others, gratitude, harmony, kindness, joy, abundance, prosperity, opulence, clarity, success, deeper awareness. Aforementioned in previous chapters, the collective faculties of mind within the subconscious are indeed the blueprint of darkness of infinite creative potential. Everything already exists in the mental plane. The physical plane will be a direct reflection of this, as it externally expresses perception and changes perspective. The life spirit is in a perpetual inward and outward expansion, surging with the physical vessel presenting itself as manifestation outwards to the material or physical plane. As above, so below, as within, so without. Chapter 3: Synchronicities and Symbolism. An Introduction. The power of visualization is easily misinterpreted in its literal meaning. With the two eyes. Visualization is primarily an internal process, as aforementioned. Its exercise is necessary for interweaving the patterns or unraveling the unique coding of the individual in their life experience, including the mental and astral planes, traveler. The nature of the spirit. Inner awareness is vital to the power of visualization, as this faculty of the mind is the process of repeating or perpetuating a pattern. That is, to see in the subconscious mind and weave the threads, the light of the mind, of imagination with concentration until the pattern is woven into creation. These are the threads of infinite potential, dreams cultivated in the desires of the heart, thoughts of the adventurous and courageous in full manifest down to the material plane. All is God and this divine life intelligence. All is mind, and the mind brings thought into existence. This reflection is noted many times in the ancient documents, holy scriptures, in the mind of the student of God, in all that exists today, and all that will be in the universe, the waters above and the waters below. As the individual unravels their unique code, consciousness perpetually expands. Vibrationally amplified and activated potential within the individual will increase pattern awareness and thus increase the ability to balance their own energy patterns, their habits, and transmute their prana, life force, through will and the heart chakra, the most powerful magnetic field in the body, and permeate both inner and outer worlds with highest vibrational potential. The architect has integrated the designs of the universe within the individual. It is our responsibility or ability to respond to convene the spirit within. A question noted in Peaks and Valleys, quote, "For whom but the individual is responsible for their own thoughts and actions,